before we get into the warnings, what's behind this sudden drenching this week?
Well, Ros, good afternoon. Well, firstly, I'm going to show you the satellite image. Just look how quickly this cloud band has developed during the past 24 hours, and I'm going to show you why. This is the temperature at about 5 kilometres above the surface. Now note, there's this massive cold polar air that's moved well north across the eastern inland. That's happening above the ground. At the surface, though, you have this very humid easterly airstream off the Tasman Sea and the Coral Sea. Now, that's a very volatile pattern because warm air and cold air don't mix together well. The warm air is forced to rise rapidly from the surface, which causes the surface pressure to drop. And we already have 2 troughs of low pressure forming. They should deepen further over the next 24 hours with one low pressure system and perhaps a second even forming at some point during the next 36 hours along the New South Wales coastline, Ros.
So we have already, Tom, seen heavy falls in southern Queensland and northern New South Wales. Where will the heaviest rain fall for the rest of the day?
So here are the 24-hour totals to 9 a.m. this morning. Now, along the Wilsons River, we had up to 219 millimetres of rain, and nearby Lismore had 73 millimetres. Across the border, Roma picked up 49 millimetres to 9 a.m. Let's have a look at the radar just over the past few hours. You can see there's heavy falls, even some storms over the southern inland of Queensland. There's a couple of showers and storms around western Queensland, western Brisbane, 29 at Amberley, and Lismore's picked up another 27 millimetres since 9 a.m. Here's the forecast rain over the next 8 hours. Heavy falls on both sides of the border. By midnight, we could easily see another 100 millimetres through parts of northern New South Wales, particularly around the coastline and also through the southern inland of Queensland.
So, Tom, do you expect Friday and Friday night to bring the peak of this event?
It should, because that trough is deepening. So let's keep going now with the forecast rain. You can see the rain spreading south overnight and through tomorrow right across New South Wales, apart from the far west of the state. Now, the absolute peak arrives tomorrow night and overnight. Have a look at that dark red shading around Sydney down to the Illawarra. We're looking at intense rainfall with 6-hour totals, potentially up to about 150 millimetres and even up to 220 millimetres around the Illawarra escarpment. So as a result of this torrential rain arriving later tomorrow, we do have a severe weather warning in force for flash flooding from the central coast right down to the south coast of New South Wales. Even life-threatening flash flooding is possible in that region, and that warning is also for damaging wind gusts from Sydney down to the south coast developing later tomorrow up to about 90 kilometres per hour. Now, this is the total rain from the event. The blue shows over 100 millimetres, so well over 100 millimetres for the central and southern New South Wales coast and also pockets of northern New South Wales and southern Queensland. With all that rain falling, there's also a flood watch, of course, for river flooding, and that flood watch has just been updated. It now covers more than 50 rivers from southern Queensland down to the New South Wales south coast, Ross.
OK, so let's talk about Sydney then, Tom. How will the near-full Warragamba Dam impact the flood risk along the Hawkesbury-Nepean?
Yeah, Warragamba right now is at 96% capacity, meaning with all this rain about to fall through that catchment, the dam will be unable to hold back those flows. Now, the Warragamba catchment, it covers around 40% of the total Hawkesbury-Nepean catchment. Now, however, it can provide up to 70% of the floodwaters. Now, the Warragamba catchment specifically runs from Lithgow in the north down to south of Goulburn, east of Mossvale, and then even west of Taralga. So it's a very large area, and you can see we're expecting well over 100 or even over 200 millimetres through some parts of that catchment. Because Warragamba Dam is nearly full, the floodwaters from this rain will tip and spill over the dam and flow down the Nepean up towards the Hawkesbury River that flows down into the ocean north of Sydney. And that is one of the reasons why that flood watch that's out includes the risk of major flooding along the Hawkesbury Nepean, Ross.